Day 229, Thursday, August 17th. Joshua 12. Joshua 12 1-24 NKJV. These are the kings of the land whom the children of Israel defeated, and whose land they possessed on the other side of the Jordan toward the rising of the sun, from the river Arnon to Mount Hermon, and all the eastern Jordan plain. One king was Sihon king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon and ruled half of Gilead, from Aroer, which is on the bank of the river Arnon, from the middle of that river, even as far as the river Jabbok, which is the border of the Ammonites, and the eastern Jordan plain from the sea of Chinneroth as far as the sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, the road to Beth Jeshimot, and southward below the slopes of Pisgah. The other king was Og king of Bashan and his territory, who was of the remnant of the giants, who dwelt at Ashtaroth and at Edrei, and reigned over Mount Hermon, over Salcah, over all Bashan, as far as the border of the Geshurites and the Machathites, and over half of Gilead to the border of Sihon king of Heshbon. These Moses the servant of the Lord and the children of Israel had conquered, and Moses the servant of the Lord had given it as a possession to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh. And these are the kings of the country which Joshua and the children of Israel conquered on this side of the Jordan, on the west, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon as far as Mount Halak and the ascent to Seir, which Joshua gave to the tribes of Israel as a possession according to their divisions, in the mountain country, in the lowlands, in the Jordan plain, in the slopes, in the wilderness, and in the south, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, the king of Jericho, 1, the king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, 1, the king of Jerusalem, 1, the king of Hebron, 1, the king of Jarmuth, 1, the king of Lachish, 1, the king of Eglon, 1, the king of Gezer, 1, the king of Debir, 1, the king of Geter, 1, the king of Hormah, 1, the king of Arad, 1, the king of Libnah, 1, the king of Adullam, 1, the king of Makkedah, 1, the king of Bethel, 1, the king of Tappuah, 1, the king of Heper, 1, the king of Aphek, 1, the king of Lasharon, 1, the king of Madon, 1, the king of Hazor, 1, the king of Shimron Meron, 1, the king of Akshaph, 1, the king of Tanakh, 1, the king of Megiddo, 1, the king of Kadesh, 1, the king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1, the king of Dor in the heights of Dor, 1, the king of the people of Gilgal, 1, the king of Tirzah, 1, all the kings, 31. Daily Deep Dive. The UCG reading plan for today's chapter states, Chapter 12 is a summary of all of the kings defeated by Moses and Joshua in the conquering of the Promised Land. Most of the cities mentioned were described in the original accounts in Numbers 21:21-35, Joshua 12:1-6, Joshua 6-8, Joshua 12:9, Joshua 10, Joshua 12:10-16, and Joshua 11, Joshua 12:17-24. The latter portion, on Joshua's conquests, appears to be an itemized list of what we previously read in Joshua 11:16-20. Baal-Gad, Joshua 12:7, is in the northern extremity of the land, north of the city that eventually became known as Dan. Mount Halak is in the southern extremity, south of Beersheba. Hormah and Arad, verse 14, are not described in Joshua 10. They are south of the other cities in that chapter. These names do appear in Numbers 21:1-3 as people defeated by the Israelites under Moses. The area is again described in Judges 1:16-17. Geter, Joshua 12:13, and Adullam, verse 15, were not mentioned in Joshua 10 either. but are in the same general area as the others in chapter 10. Bethel, Joshua 12:16, was a town adjacent to Ai. Its inhabitants unsuccessfully aided Ai against the Israelites, Joshua 8:17, and some defeat of the city may have occurred at that time. But a later destruction is recorded in Judges 1:22-26, complete with spies and a secret entrance into the city. Tappuah, verse 17, is not mentioned elsewhere as being conquered, but in Joshua 16:8 and Joshua 17:7-8 it is described as a border city between Ephraim and Manasseh. The northern towns listed in Joshua 12:17-24 were probably part Jabin's alliance described in chapter 11, the kings and cities of which were merely summarized in Joshua 11:2-3. And, verse 24, the John Gill commentary states, "It may seem strange that, in so small a country as Canaan was, there should be so many kings in it, since the length of it from Dan to Beersheba was scarce 160 miles, as Jerem says, who further observes, that he was ashamed to give the breadth of it, lest it should give occasion to heathens to blaspheme. For, adds he, from Joppa to our little village Bethlehem, where they then were 46 miles, to which succeeded only a vast desert. But it may be observed, that in ancient times, in other countries, there were a great many kings, as here in Britain, and in France, Spain, and Germany, as Bishop Patrick has observed from several writers, and Strabo testifies the same of the cities of Phoenicia or Canaan, that they had each of them separate kings, as Joshua here describes them. And,